What? You said Your Majesty is a war criminal. Introduction. Neutron Annihilation, Earth-burst celestial star, Angel of Peace, Colossus Annihilation, Dimension Reduction Strike, Black Hole Annihilation. Open your eyes and see how many races in the Milky Way have gone extinct under the ambition of that tyrant. The Holy Emperor is a heinous humanist, an unwavering war criminal. What? You said Your Majesty is a war criminal. Oh my goodness, you damn heretic. Quickly, call the fleet to execute the extermination order. This planet needs divine purification. P.S. Elements of this book. Waste soil, mechanical artificial limbs, out-of-control AI, genetic transformation, extraordinary awakening, Xinghai expedition, empire building, as well as the nameless Cthulhu evil god and subspace demons. Chapter 1. I am a responsible man. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, it's so bloating, I don't want it anymore. I give up, I give up. I can't do it either. Let me go, you're amazing. Inside a lobby compartment in the corner of the bar. Two women fell, one left and one right, in Zheng's arms. On the front platform, there are more than 10 wine bottles scattered. All of them were left by them just now when they mixed wine. The recent cocktail match made both women's stomachs visibly enlarged. My face is also flushed, looking very pink and tender, making me want to take a bite. Two women shyly punched Zheng in the chest with small fists, cursing him as a villain. Disgusting, I really can't stand it. Look, the dresses are all wet. A woman's black silk short skirt was spilled with alcohol. Visible to the naked eye, it wet a large area, making the snow-white skin even more fair and tempting under the light. Zheng laughed heartily and reached out to embrace the other person again. Just a dress, buy a new one, come and continue drinking. No need, boss. I've had a big stomach. It's okay if you have a big belly, it's mine. I'm a responsible man. Zheng touched the woman's plump belly and joked. Damn it, how could you say such things? The deafening music made my ears ache. Men and women emitting a hormonal scent wriggled on the dance floor shrouded in red and green lights. On the high platform, a group of lively dancers with prosthetic limbs were wearing clothes similar to cloth strips. They wriggled their waists, sticking out their tongues to lick their red lips, trying their best to seduce. The customers below were also shaking their heads and minds, twisting their bodies with exposed metal joints, immersed in the excitement brought by alcohol and music. Zheng also indulged himself recklessly. I didn't give up until I spent all the credit coins in my pocket and drank so much that I didn't even know where the door was. When Zheng regained consciousness, it was already the next morning. The slightly crimson sunlight shone in from behind the faded and stained curtains, providing a slight glow to the dimly lit room. The creaking exhaust fan blows in the slightly foul-smelling fresh air from the outside. Zheng stared at the ceiling, feeling a nauseating hangover after drinking. He kicked the woman beside him, who hummed twice, rolled over, and continued to sleep. From the pinch marks on the other person's skin and the marks on the bed, it can be seen that after drinking a broken piece last night, there was also a very intense battle. Bang! Bang! The loud knocking on the door made the long-neglected door tremble and let out painful moans, as if it was about to die in the next second. Zheng. Have you died yet? You're just dead, Zheng replied with a drowsy expression, one more breath. You're such a jerk. Hurry up and get off the woman's belly. We have to go do a big deal today. Upon hearing the sound outside, Zheng rolled his eyes. Which car are you interested in again? Can you have some ambition in your big business? When will we go rob the bank? Thieves and petty theft cannot become a legend in Free City. Zheng rolled over and got up. The strong and symmetrical body, illuminated by dim sunlight, is as perfect as a classical sculpture. Taking a breath, the murky air was sucked into his chest, and the rolled-up breath seemed to carry the power of tides. Blood surged through his body, powerful and majestic. He walked naked towards the shower and reached out to twist the fully painted, iron-gray switch. The shower head on top sprayed water. The water is very cold, as if it had just been pumped out of a deep well. Dripping on the skin made all the goosebumps rise. Zheng enjoys this feeling very much. This is proof that he is alive. Only living people can feel this coldness and the tightness caused by pore contraction. Dead people will only emit venomous screams. There is a mirror in the shower room. Zheng reached out and wiped away the mist. A strong man appeared in the mirror. The muscles on the body are twisted and tangled, like snakes and pythons swimming around. Skinny black short hair, with a rebellious temperament. My eyes were completely pitch black, with no trace of eye white. In this era full of subspace curses and genetic mutations, these eyes will not appear very special in the crowd. Zheng gazed at this perfect body inside. My mind is full of thoughts, chaotic and disorderly. In fact, he has an unknown secret, which is that he is not a person of this era. After experiencing unimaginable glory, human civilization has fallen into decline for some terrible reasons. The collapse and decline of civilization have caused many historical records to be lost. Many of the past histories are now unknown and submerged in time. The only thing that can be accurately known is the current year. New calendar year 62023. The brilliance of reason and technology has disappeared into the boundless void. Instead, there is indescribable darkness, indescribable terror, and hysterical religious fervor. The dead are active outside the city, screaming and yearning for the flesh and blood of the living. Twisted monsters lurk in the deep cave, waiting to devour all creatures that dare to enter their realm. A ghost full of resentment and curses lingers in the dark corners of the city, living on the flesh and suffering of those who have fallen. This is the most terrifying era. Rationality has collapsed, and the once powerful interstellar civilization has been shattered. This is the darkest era, and everything has become irrational. Fate is like a little girl abandoned by Zheng after playing with her body and mind, full of resentment. Otherwise, how could he be sent to such a damn era and place? Zheng turned off the switch and took out a towel to wipe his body. The woman in bed finally woke up. With bleary eyes, he glanced at Zheng who had just taken a shower, and then at his naked self, his eyes showing confusion. Obviously, she also drank a broken piece herself. The woman's appearance can also be considered quite attractive. The figure is well-shaped, with a protruding front and a sloping back, slender waist and limbs, and a stunning mountain on the chest. A head of soft golden long hair, with three-dimensional facial features and a unique charm. The woman stretched her hands and moved her sore muscles and bones. The marks of the mechanical piston can be clearly seen on the shoulders and elbows. The position of the joints to cover the simulated flesh and blood is exorbitantly expensive. It's normal for a dancer from a mixed bar to not be able to afford it. I'm going out now, and when I come back, I don't want to see you still here. Zheng gave all the credit coins he had to the woman. You're really heartless. The woman didn't show any courtesy and smiled after accepting those credit coins. After all, I kept it warm all night and didn't even want to say my name. You're such a complete scumbag. Ha ha ha, I'll just take it as a compliment to me. There's no need to point out that I might be on the streets today. Zheng smiled and said nonchalantly, don't you think knowing the names of the dead is a very unlucky thing? That's the same. The woman shrugged, my name is Evelyn, and I often go to the Liz bar. What does it mean to tell me your name? Zheng looked at the other person and said. If you don't have a zombie on the street today, you can come find me tonight. You're doing a great job with that thing. Evelyn looked at the naked Zheng without shyness, her eyes like a tiger looking at the cute little pig, wishing to eat it in one bite. And you're very handsome, I really like it. Zheng raised his eyebrows slightly and reached out a hand to hook up the opponent's delicate and flawless chin. If I hadn't died, I would have gone to find you. After finishing speaking, he put on his clothes and walked out. Zheng opened the door that was almost broken. A bald man with dark silver electromagnetic patterns on the back of his head, wearing a leather jacket, leaned against the cement railing of the apartment and smoked. David, Zheng greeted the man. A year ago, Zheng suddenly appeared in this world. There were also conflicts with some gang members. The other party wants to capture Zheng as a slave. Zheng naturally refused. He killed a few members of the other party and ran away, which led to the pursuit of the gang. It was David who rescued him and brought him to the Saint and district to work as a mercenary, making a living. The city they live in is called Liberty City, which is a huge nest capital covering a vast area. The distance from the top wealthy areas in the central area to the outer city areas where homeless people gather is over 1,000 kilometers in diameter, making it a supergiant city left over from the glorious era of humanity. Many people have never stepped out of the confines of this nest in their lifetime, nor have they even stepped out of their own area, let alone seen the outside world. The free city has been divided into many areas. Each region is very vast, much larger than the cities of the era when Zheng lived. Zhaoshuyuan.com. Some areas are very stable and are divided into upper-level areas, usually inhabited by government officials, wealthy factory owners, or high-ranking family members. Some areas are chaotic and declining, filled with gangs and cults, divided into lower levels, and it is normal for people to die every day. The Xinghai district where Zheng and David live has gangs, but it is not so chaotic and can be considered a middle-level district. The dark silver pattern behind David's head is the interface left by mechanical prosthetic implantation. More than 80% of his organs have been replaced with machinery. Heart, spleen, lungs, and so on. The application of mechanical prosthetics is rampant in this world. You can find several prosthetic doctors in any dark corner of a street. As long as the price is reasonable, there are all kinds of prosthetics available. Money is in place, and 40-centimeter golden cannons can be installed casually. David flicked the cigarette ash and turned his head to look at Zheng. I thought you were going to die on a woman's belly. You should restrain yourself a bit. So, what will you do in the future? Don't be funny, David. How could people like us have a future? Zheng laughed and said, Tell me, what kind of business is this? Is it stealing cars for some big shot again? David smiled for a moment. No, this time, we're going to kill. Just as Zheng was about to speak, his mind went into a daze. Countless scenes flooded into his mind like a tide. P.S. After finishing the recommendation and listing it, it will explode. We strive to reach 1 million words as soon as possible, complete the planet unification, and enter the starry sky. We hope everyone can support us. Chapter 2. New Tasks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. The dreamy scene surged in Zheng's mind like a river. It's like a reflection on the water surface. Zheng was so painful that he almost couldn't stand steadily. Subconsciously, he reached out to support the railing beside him. The screen flickered quickly, but it was enough for Zheng to capture the key points. A group of cultists wearing black robes with eye patterns gathered inside a dilapidated dark building. They surrounded the woman placed on the black altar. In the picture, someone is walking along the creaking metal corridor with weapons in hand. Zheng identified the weapons in the opponent's hand, most of which were pulse laser guns. There are several seemingly disadvantaged cultists holding automatic live ammunition rifles in their hands. There are some miscellaneous items piled up at the entrance of the high corridor, and behind them is a heavy pulse laser rapid-fire gun. Next to the altar, there is an old man wearing a black robe with various strange and blasphemous runes tattooed on his head. Zheng noticed that the other party's eyes were all white, without any black. And there is also an unsettling aura on my body. It is highly likely to be a psychic. The picture is very chaotic. Zheng saw the two of them breaking into that strange place. Just as I entered the door, I was hit by a cultist's head, the scene of David being dismembered by the other party. There are many scenes of death, but there are also some scenes of them successfully eliminating the cultists. These scenes come and go quickly. David saw Zheng in a daze and with a painful expression on his face, and knew that the other party was using his abilities. He asked with concern, "Are you okay? What did you see this time? Is this mission dangerous?" Zheng took a deep breath and shook his head. "It should be okay, but it's a bit troublesome. Their weapons are quite powerful. Traveling through the lower levels of Liberty City can also counter-kill gang members." Zheng naturally had his own trump card. Anticipation is one of them. When he encounters danger or something important that requires him to make a choice, he will see the consequences of every choice he makes. What I just saw is the feedback I received from making different choices. There are 3 options that will harm oneself and David. 5 choices will kill one of them. There are 12 options that will help them complete the task. As for how this ability came about, it is another secret of Zheng. He suspected that his journey was also related to that secret. I just can't find any evidence. Anticipating this ability, with the use of it over the past year, Zheng became increasingly proficient. This ability is really useful. At least when indulging in bars, he can accurately know which one to target, so that after enjoying it, he can easily escape without causing any trouble. Just don't die. Even if those fools' weapons are powerful, they will still be defeated by our future legendary partners in the Free City. David excitedly patted Zheng's shoulder. Let's go eat something and then do this. This transaction is absolutely cost-effective. If successful, it will definitely bring us a big profit and allow us to spend a lot of time indulging in extravagance and drinking. Can a good deal fall on both of us? Zheng flicked out his cigarette butt and mocked himself, who is the middleman in this mission. Intermediary is a special existence between employers and mercenaries. Employers are worried that mercenaries may not do their job well or even run away with money. Mercenaries are worried about not receiving money. The intermediary is the guarantor. Usually, it is only local snakes with certain influence in the region who can do it. Being able to navigate different social classes and having sufficient strength to deter them. The chubby guy from the Tiger Claw gang, David said, shouldn't be a big problem. I don't think it's quite right, but let's take a closer look, Zheng said. Zheng could not foresee such a distant event. I can only foresee things that may endanger my life or change my life trajectory. That's also why he believed David back then. Because he could see that after choosing David, he survived. What are the requirements for this mission? Zheng asked as he followed David towards the elevator. Retrieve the employer's daughter and kill all the cultists involved in this matter. If you only retrieve the body, you can get 100,000 credit coins. If you don't die, double it, 200,000 credit coins. David pressed the elevator in the apartment, and with a creaking sound, an old, rusty-looking elevator door appeared in front of the two of them. It looks like a wealthy guy, Zheng said. If you can buy 2 top legends of the future of Liberty City for 100,000 yuan, that bastard will make a lot of money, David said. I've got a few well-maintained guns. After finishing my food and checking them, we'll set off. David knows Zheng's abilities. Finding the target is not a big deal for Zheng, who has special abilities. However, the probability of receiving this task is only 100,000. Missing for so long, the employer's daughter is highly likely to have been killed. The food in Liberty City is terrible. Every time Zheng eats those things, he feels like it's a crime against his stomach. Due to the natural environment and energy supply, many foods are produced in factories. The products provided to those at the bottom who are extremely poor are mainly easy-to-breed categories. Difficult-to-bite ant beef, cultivated worm-secreted paste protein, and affordable starch chunks. Of course, there are also delicious ones, but the prices are too expensive. Basically, only those who belong to the upper class or have status and assets can afford to enjoy it. Qin Zheng and David were eating something to cushion their stomachs while discussing the intelligence on their hands. I learned from my employer that the organization that kidnapped his daughter should be a cult called Evil Eyes. Cults are not uncommon in Free City. People who are not doing well and full of resentment like to find something messy to worship. This Evil Eye should be the latest rising cult organization, or it could be from other regions. At least before, Qin Zheng and David had not heard of the existence of this sect. After discussing the intelligence, the two began to inspect their weapons and equipment. David prepared 2 plasma-powered pistols, commonly known as plasma guns. This weapon does not fire live ammunition, but high-energy particle beams propelled by electromagnetic waves. Particle beams can cause burns to targets along the way, resulting in explosions and range-killing after collision. You can directly pull the trigger to emit a small beam of plasma. You can also hold down the trigger for a few seconds, and the plasma at the muzzle will gather into a large sphere, which can fire a single plasma-charged bullet with even more terrifying power. After energy storage, the plasma gun can easily melt steel. If it hits a person, it will be vaporized directly. The advantages of plasma pistols are easy portability, easy ammunition replacement, and even support firing while connecting to the power supply. The disadvantage is that it overheats every once in a while and cannot operate. It must wait for heat dissipation, otherwise it will explode. Qin Zheng identified it as a Type 25 plasma pistol. This style of plasma pistol features 2 iconic field gyroscopes at the bottom. The energy battery is inserted at the back of the pistol, and the exposed electromagnetic coil can be seen at the front of the muzzle. This style is popular among lower-class mercenaries and gangsters for its convenience in maintenance and affordable price. In addition to plasma pistols, David also brought 2 pulse laser automatic rifles. Zhaozuiyuan.com. This weapon is powered by high-density batteries and is capable of fully automatic shooting, making it the current mainstream weapon. Qin Zheng did not see the model of the laser gun. It is very likely to be produced by a black workshop. In this chaotic era, having a weapon is very important. It can ensure that you have a certain level of counterattack ability against individuals from gangs, governments, and groups. Weapons produced by legitimate arms dealers have superior performance, but they are equally expensive and not a good choice for the lower class. There is demand, there is supply. The huge sinking market has allowed many black workshops that rely on a few machine tools and old-fashioned contemplative computers to produce weapons to survive. The waiter didn't care about David and Qin Zheng taking out weapons and continued to serve things to the guests at other tables. The boss stood behind a fully transparent bulletproof glass and collected the money. He has a laser pistol and a sticky grenade at hand. Those who cause trouble and refuse to pay for meals must weigh their own fate and leave. From the bloodstains and bullet marks on the wall, you can tell what kind of ruthless person the boss is. In this chaotic world, opening a shop without weapons is like scattering spices on a sheep and walking into a pack of wolves. Qin Zheng and David naturally wouldn't have the leisure to rob breakfast shops, as they have less fuel and water, and are also prone to provoking local gangs. The two of them ate and checked their weapons before getting up and leaving. A few days ago, the two of them pooled together to buy a floating car that had passed by countless hands and was parked on the roadside. The car is covered in rust and many areas are exposed with wires. No matter who sees it for the first time, they will think it is a piece of scrap metal. Being able to continue on the road is simply a miracle. Chapter 3. Perfect Infiltration. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Put the things in the car and put them away. The two of them also bent down and got into the car. As David pressed the start button, the expired anti-gravity engine gasped for breath like an old cow. The car body is trembling violently, occasionally bouncing for no reason. But it still started smoothly and successfully suspended at a distance of more than 3 meters from the ground. A good anti-gravity suspension vehicle is very expensive. Previously, David and Zheng made a living by stealing cars for those gangs. After working hard for half a year, the two of them barely stood firm in Xinghai district. After becoming familiar with the chaos of Free City and mastering his own abilities, Zheng began to advocate for David to rob the bank. Otherwise, neither of them will stand out in their lifetime. Unfortunately, David never had this idea. I always want to earn money by doing tasks and become a legend of Free City. Zheng was also quite helpless about this. This is not playing games. How could it become a legend of Free City just by relying on missions? With the help of his prophetic ability, Zheng easily pinpointed the position of his target. Those cultists are hiding in a dark, abandoned giant building that has been abandoned for many years. The building is located in the buffer zone between the St. Anne and Drew districts. Isolation walls are built in different areas, with buffer zones left between each wall. This is the wall that was originally built to defend human civilization. Isolate different areas, so that even if one area is attacked by something malicious to humans, other areas can still be preserved. Drew district is a completely lower-level district. The municipal departments and large corporations have abandoned the area, no longer providing infrastructure such as water and electricity, and even preventing survivors from escaping to other areas. There are gangs and cults rampant in the Drew district, and various terrifying things that can distort people's minds can be seen everywhere. Only those fugitive criminals or those who cannot survive in other areas will venture into that disorderly area to seek shelter and wealth. The trade of prohibited psychotropic drugs, illegal prosthetics, and human organs is prevalent in the Drew district. As long as you are ruthless and have strength, it is not difficult to get rich there. Of course, becoming a raw material for others to sell is not uncommon. Zheng and David drove their old floating car straight towards the target. The anti-gravity engine can generate an anti-gravity field to support the suspension and advancement of the vehicle. Quickly, they arrived at their destination. The two parked their cars, grabbed their weapons, and touched them. That is a very large building. The complex and rusty steel corridors and cement stairs are intricate, like a maze. Standing at the deep and dark entrance is like standing in front of the entrance to hell. Abandoned buildings are very common in Liberty City. The decline of population has led to the decline of industry, and even various industries. A large number of buildings are abandoned due to lack of people or some terrifying reasons. Even in Xinghai district, there are many abandoned buildings and streets. The public government has drawn a martial law line and issued notices requiring citizens not to enter those areas to avoid danger. It's not uncommon to see anything in those abandoned buildings. Dead people in action, cold ghosts, and monsters with limbs as sharp as steel knives are all possible. Do you want to wear a night vision helmet? David crouched in a barrier and asked in the communicator. No need. Zheng checked the energy battery of the laser gun and the energy storage of the pulse charge gun in his hand. His trump card is not only foresight, but also a powerful body comparable to Superman. It is not difficult for him to see things in the dark. You're such a freak, David said as he activated his artificial eye's night vision function. David's money is mostly used to strengthen himself. The electromagnetic pattern behind his head is left by the implantation of intelligent chips. My eyes were also replaced early on with a pair of high-performance mechanical prosthetic eyes. The flesh and blood eyes are too weak, a little damage is enough to cause blindness. To make a living in Liberty City, it is necessary to have mechanical prosthetics. Zheng didn't care about David's roast. He opened a data board. After a few messy codes, a spot of light is displayed above, indicating distance and height, which is exactly the location of the employer's daughter. The other party has implanted a biochip in their body. Approaching a certain distance, even if the network is blocked, it can still be located. "I'm so lucky, that woman didn't die," Zheng said. "It seems like we can get 200,000 yuan from this one." Zheng looked at Guandian and whispered. "What are you waiting for? Let's go. Let those fools see the power of the future legend of Liberty City." David stepped into the building. The massive body sank into the boundless darkness. Zheng looked at the pitch-black entrance, hesitated for a moment, and then took a step inside. As soon as he walked in, the smell of rotten metal and oil poured into his nose. The giant elevator tracks are laid out on the dome. The machines, as massive as a small mountain, have rusted in the dark and out of sight. The tracks of the assembly line are covered in dust and mold. This industrial building was built countless years ago. At that time, Liberty City was not yet in its current decline. These buildings still shine with the brilliance of industry. These machines are also full of vitality. A large number of industrial products and mechanical creations were born here and sent to various places, even outer space. As time passed, it declined. No more people will start these machines. But let them rot and rust. Zheng and David walked in a dark and humid environment, like ghosts, without making any noticeable sounds. "That woman is the best sacrifice to the great Lord Magic Eye. Her screams must be very pleasant, Lord Magic Eye will definitely like them. What kind of reward will we receive if we offer such a sacrifice?" At the end of the corridor, several believers wearing long robes with various symbols carved on their faces stood in front of the door, whispering and discussing. An argon lamp was placed on the abandoned oil tank bucket to the side, providing a bright light. These believers were completely unaware of the danger they were facing. "Be careful not to disturb the people inside," David said. "Don't worry, my infiltration has always been perfect, and living people don't even know about my infiltration." As soon as the words fell, Zheng quickly approached those few people like a ghost, using the darkness. "As long as you don't leave any survivors, no one will notice if you sneak around." Zheng ran silently. The pitch-black pupils grew even deeper in the darkness. 2 daggers flew out at lightning speed. When the cultists heard the sound, the dagger had already arrived in front of them. 2 cultists died on the spot. The sharp dagger penetrated directly into their heads, without even a hum, they lost their breath. Zhaozuiyuan.com. The remaining 3 people's pupils dilated, and their eyes showed fear. One of them wanted to shout, but saw a fist rush out of the darkness and hit his metal throat bone with precision. The sound of metal cracking made people shiver uncontrollably. Before the remaining 2 cultists could do anything, one was cut open in the throat by Zheng, who had regained the dagger, like killing a chicken. Blood spurted out along the cut. The other one was David, who rushed over and covered his mouth, stabbing a Mitsubishi thorn diagonally above his shoulder into the main artery. 7 seconds, a new score. Zheng estimated the time and said to David with satisfaction. He walked up to the believer who had a broken throat but did not breathe. The other person's mouth is spitting blood foam, and the metal throat bone is broken, with fragments piercing into the remaining flesh and blood. Many metal prosthetics have been implanted into the body, all of which are high-end invaluable. Zheng checked and found that there was also a magic bracelet on the opponent's body that could project individual shields. Unfortunately, the shield can only defend against long-range shooting weapons, making it difficult to play its role in close combat. I don't know how a member of a cult organization could have so many high-end prosthetics. What a sin. Unable to find the answer, Zheng did not pay much attention. At that time, taking the body away and selling it to those righteous guilds would make a big profit. He grabbed the handle of the dagger and aimed the tip at the other person's remaining flesh and blood right eye. Prepare to stab in and crush the other person's brain. Don't kill me, my father is. The cultist lying on the ground spat blood and begged for mercy. Chapter 4. Spiritualists. You are listening at novel full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, Zheng exerted a sudden force. That cultist hasn't finished speaking yet. The dagger pierced through the eyes. The cultist let out a mournful scream. When the dagger pierced in, a crackling sound came. It is obvious that it pierced the electronic components inside the skull. Crimson blood mixed with pitch-black engine oil flowed out together. It's perfect, no one's warning, our infiltration was seamless, Zheng said to David. David. How dare you let someone finish speaking? They say they were killed halfway, and it's easy to get angry and become ghosts. Those cultists are just a trivial incident. The two continued to delve deeper and search for the target person according to the coordinates provided on the databoard. Zheng and David heard the roar of machinery and saw the light emanating from deep within the building. The members of the Evil Eye organization seemed to have repaired the generator in this abandoned industrial area. The dim light faded the darkness. Walking within the range of those lights, Zheng also witnessed the terrifying and blasphemous side of the Evil Eye cult organization. Some human corpses are suspended from high ceilings by sharp iron chains. The eyes were dug out, the tongue and nose were cut off, and the skin on the hands was completely peeled off. Various twisted runes are depicted in every corner with blood and unknown liquid. Some people who have been hung up have not yet died, their bleeding mouths make a gurgling sound, and their faces show a painful expression of longing for death. They twisted their scarred bodies, yearning for ultimate liberation. Even David, a veteran mercenary, could not accept the horrible scene. The fanatical and twisted beliefs have turned humans into something even more terrifying than monsters. Going further, it is a giant hall connected by long corridors. The sturdy steel and cement pillars supported the brick and stone dome. The metal cast pipeline structure is connected vertically and horizontally near the dome, like a spider web. The bright argon lamp illuminated the entire space and also illuminated the members of the cult organization gathered here. Zheng, who was hiding in the dark, glanced at him and judged the opponent's strength. The expected number of attendees is around 400. All dressed in robes with eerie eyes tattooed. They surrounded a high platform. On the high platform stands a sculpture with a huge eye. In front of the sculpture are several believers who are also dressed in black robes. The black-robed old man who was once seen in the foresight scene was standing in the middle of the believers. His eyes were all white, and he was holding a strange scepter. An unconscious woman was fixed on the altar in front of the old man, and the flesh and blood had already been cut open, slowly bleeding. Armed personnel patrol around to maintain order. A firepower point is set up on a railing. A dual large-caliber laser rapid-fire gun is placed there. From a design perspective, it should be the old Mark II laser rapid-fire gun with a caliber of around 25 mm. If connected to a high-power supply, it can quickly shoot 2,000 lasers per second. Most armed personnel hold laser guns, with a few holding automatic rifles. Live-fire weapons and energy weapons each have their own advantages. Live-fire weapons have low cost, simple maintenance in the later stage, and are not affected by the environment. After hitting, it is highly likely to cause cavity damage to the human body, making people more fearful. Energy weapons, high precision, and convenient ammunition carrying. After hitting, it generally causes penetration and burning, and the wound does not look very large. When the laser penetrates the body, it will burn the flesh and blood tissue near the wound, which is even more difficult to treat than a live fire hit. For ordinary people, whether it's laser or live ammunition, getting hit is not a good thing. Zheng gestured to David in sign language, "Go and take down the quick-fire gun above, and give me the scattered ones." David looked at the rapid-fire gun controlled by only one person and nodded. Zheng looked again and determined the location of the target. Grasp the laser pistol and dagger tightly in your hand, adjust your breathing, and prepare for an attack. When David touched behind the cult member who controlled the rapid-fire gun, Zheng took action. He leaped out of his hiding place, like a cheetah ready to pounce on its prey. The trigger of the pulse laser pistol was continuously pulled by him, and the crimson gemstone-like laser beam tore through the air, emitting a piercing sound. Strike against steel and walls, emitting a sizzling sound of high-temperature burning. The sudden movement stunned all the members of the cult at the gathering. 2 believers holding guns were immediately knocked down. Zheng was as fast as a ghost, with agile movements. Screams kept ringing in the dim and narrow hall, causing chaos among the cult followers. Some panicked and sought shelter, while others shouted and rushed towards Zheng for the sake of the Demon Eye Lord. After the armed personnel with weapons reacted, they immediately raised their guns in the direction where Zheng was located. Zheng used the obstacles in the hall to evade the panicked cultists. After killing 2 armed personnel again and using a dagger to cut open several incoming cultists, Zheng was pierced through by a beam of light. The burning pain made him feel dazed for a moment, but he still instinctively hid behind an abandoned machine. Laser is fired on the machine, burning rusty steel, giving the air a smell of iron slag. The laser rapid-fire gun at the top turned its muzzle, just about to give the intruder a shockwave of firepower. Let them feel how terrifying the great magic Eye Lord is. Next second, the armed personnel were knocked down by David, and a dagger easily cut through his throat. Son of a bitch, let's all die. David grinned grimly and aimed the quick-fire gun at the other cultists, pulling the trigger of the quick-fire gun. The speed of 2,000 laser beams per second is undoubtedly a massacre for cultists without protective shields. The panicked screams, the sound of laser cutting through the air, the sound of flesh and blood piercing through, and the sound of corpses falling to the ground were all mixed together. 30 seconds later, all the sounds disappeared. When Zheng walked out from behind the hidden machine, he saw a lay cult lying on the ground in front of him. All turned into black-robed corpses emitting a scorching smell. His wound was wriggling, with necrotic flesh shedding and new flesh healing. Zheng has not tested the limits of his self-healing ability. He doesn't want to play with these with his own little life. Did you stop? Go out and take a look. The other party spoke lightly, but Zheng's hearing was even sharper than those advanced mechanical prosthetics, and he immediately locked in the other party. A head poked out, but before I could see anything, the laser penetrated the other person's head. The old man hiding on the other side of the altar and the few remaining cultists watched in horror as the hot-headed corpse collapsed in front of them. Zhaoshuyuan.com, listen over there, you guys are already surrounded. Now let go of your weapons and surrender, there is still a way to survive. Zheng shouted, holding his gun. David, who was standing high, also turned his direction and aimed his rapid-fire gun at the hiding place of the people, symbolically firing 2 shots. The hit area exploded, and the gravel splattered everywhere with a scorching smell. Interrupting sacrifices and killing believers. Are you disrespectful and blasphemous to the gods, and not afraid of divine punishment? The voice of the elderly came, filled with anger. That ugly thing, I'm afraid of its divine punishment, Zheng said contemptuously. I'll count for 3 seconds. If I don't surrender, I'll give you divine punishment. This blasphemous statement clearly stimulated the few remaining believers. They screamed and rushed out. Blasphemy the gods, go to hell. The old man with white eyes released a shockwave in the shape of an air wave. Zheng flipped over and hid behind an obstacle before being lifted away. David controlled the rapid-fire gun to fire, and the dense laser swept through the air with a piercing sound. Those ordinary cultists were directly pierced and turned into corpses. An invisible barrier appeared in front of the old man. Stop all the laser beams that are capable of penetrating steel. Blasphemer, die. The old man raised his head, his pale eyes faintly glimmering with a strange light. The air suddenly became cold, and the temperature dropped to an uncomfortable level. A gust of unrealistic wind swept through the dull abandoned buildings. "Damn it, it's a psychic." David's words were filled with fear. Chapter 5. The Arrival of Evil Gods. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. Some people say that psychics are a manifestation of human evolution and the future of humanity. Some people also say that psychics are the curse of subspace and the root cause of human destruction. But no one can deny the power of psychics. No ordinary person can remain calm when facing a psychic directly. Spiritualists possess various incredible abilities. The abilities possessed by those deities in mythology can be found in spiritual beings. Prophecy, environmental perception, attacks formed by releasing natural elements, controlling time flow, spiritual teleportation, retrieving objects from space, accelerating healing, resurrection after death, creating dimensions, and so on. All the abilities of those deities in mythology are reflected in the spiritual beings. It is said that the upper-level district will recruit spiritual beings as members of special departments to protect the safety of the upper-level district. These guys have strange and unpredictable abilities, very difficult to deal with. David himself probably never expected that this mission would not only kill hundreds of cult members, but also face the eerie existence of spiritual beings. 100,000. Low-priced labor. Damn it. The old man roared, his spiritual energy pouring out like a flood of broken embankments. A strange arc of light connected him to the strange eyeball sculpture. Strange whispers rang out in the hall. Waves of cold wind seemed to blow from a distant past, carrying the dust of the lost era and the downfall of the empire. The darkness is rolling, as if given life. The old man's body trembled. It seems like something caught his soul and entered it through a secret passage. His body twisted, his flesh tearing fiercely, revealing his black, slippery limbs. Eyes appear on various parts of the body and the slippery limbs that grow. Scarlet like blood, carrying endless malice and hatred. A mouth full of fangs grew from the torn abdomen, and it screamed. The entire building trembled. David's face showed a hint of fear. The danger of this mission far exceeded his imagination. Zheng, this scammer, also said there isn't much problem. Damn it. Spiritual beings, is it not a big problem for evil spirits to descend into this world? Is it necessary for those ancient evil gods who have been passed down by word of mouth to come out and dance tentacle dance to be considered problematic? A sizzling sound sounded, and the rapidly rotating coil flickered with strong light. Zheng held up his plasma pistol, which had been accumulating energy since dodging the shockwave just now, and aimed it at the monster attempting to descend through the passage of the old man. The indicator light of the plasma gun has jumped from blue to red, indicating that the energy storage has reached its maximum level. The high-speed rotating electromagnetic coil emitted an unbearable sound. Zheng Song pulled the trigger. A plasma ball, the size of a basketball, leaped out with a plasma arc, creating a straight trajectory in the air and directly hitting the old man undergoing transformation. The elderly person's head and limbs above the head are directly vaporized. Hot air bubbled out from the remaining limbs, scorching black. The screaming monster let out another roar and collapsed with a loud bang. Zheng threw away the overheated plasma pistol and fired several more shots while holding the laser gun, ensuring that the opponent would not move again before stopping. Down with the old man, Zheng checked other cultists again. After confirming that there were no survivors, Zheng put away his gun. It is a good habit not to leave any survivors for cult followers. Extreme religious fanatics are very crazy. The best way is to kill them and elevate them to the heaven they want to go to. Zheng walked towards the black altar. The target character was tied there, with a cut in his wrist and blood flowing continuously down the grooves on the altar towards the strange sculpture. Zheng looked around and predicted that the sacrificial ceremony had been going on for more than 3 hours. Those cultists are experienced and know how to make people suffer, but they don't immediately die. Long torment will make the evil creatures they believe in more joyful, thus bestowing more grace. Just now, I thought we were both dead. David's surviving voice rang out in the communicator. 2,000 laser rapid-fire guns per second can't penetrate his spiritual barrier, they're just monsters. When did I slip up? Don't forget, I can be considered a psychic to some extent. Dealing with that old man is not just a matter of holding hands. Zheng walked up to the black altar where his employer's daughter lay. Dida, Dida. Several small signal blockers are placed around the altar. The indicator light kept jumping. Blocked the distress signal sent by the chip inside the target character's body. Residents in Shangqing district generally have insurance provided by security and medical companies. Whenever there is a danger, the chip inside the body will automatically send satellite signals, and an emergency team on standby 24 hours a day will immediately rush over. Even if there is only one breath left, it can still be saved. A woman doesn't look very old, just in her 20s. The face is delicate and the skin is delicate and smooth, indicating that it has undergone surgery such as genetic fine-tuning. She has a curvaceous figure and is wearing a deep V-red dress that reveals a large area of snow-white, with dark silver electromagnetic patterns on her chest. It should be implanted with certain artificial organs or chips. The woman's gaze was very blurred, it was obvious that excessive blood loss had caused her to be in a daze. When Zheng picked up the woman, a strong spiritual shock wave came from the position of the altar sculpture. A terrifying image appeared in my mind. The wriggling flesh grows countless tentacles, dancing wildly. A mouthful of sharp teeth let out a crazy roar. The unimaginable giant eyes opened, revealing malice and cruelty, as if crossing time and space, staring at Zheng. An indescribable eerie whisper echoed in his ear, like an ancient call. Zheng was dazed for a moment and then returned to normal. He looked at the sculpture with a slight frown. The objects worshipped by cultists are generally very evil. The act of killing the other party's followers and taking away the woman by oneself is obviously angering the other party. Destroy this thing, Zheng pointed to the sculpture and shouted to David. Understood. David didn't say anything and controlled the rapid-fire gun to pour fire at the strange eyeball sculpture. The air was torn apart by dense and high-speed lasers, emitting a sharp sound. The sculpture was completely destroyed in just a few seconds, becoming a pile of hot and decaying debris. But the feeling of coldness and being watched did not disappear. It has set its sights on Zheng. Zheng doesn't have much sense of urgency about this. Just keep an eye on it. If you want to kill him, you probably have to queue up. Thinking of those monsters, Zheng's expression was slightly solemn. We need to find a solution as soon as possible, otherwise he will be devoured sooner or later. I just came up and saw a long corridor leading to the balcony of a high-rise building. Take that woman there, and the emergency team will take her away. David said in the communicator, I'll see if this quick-fire gun can be dismantled. It's such a good thing. Many gangsters must want it, so it's considered extra fast. Okay. Zheng walked up the stairs with the woman in his arms, and after turning a corner, he saw a dilapidated iron door that emitted light. With a clanging kick, the door was kicked open. The fresh air rushed towards us in an instant. He stood on a balcony over 40 meters above the ground, gazing at the towering abandoned buildings, as if entering a ghost city. The rustling sound of the wind in my ears was like a murmur mixed with ghosts. Long periods of neglect and wind and rain have caused the balcony to be covered with bacterial plaques. After waiting for a moment, a roar came from the air. A heavy armored floating car appeared in Zheng's sight. On the open hatch stood two fully armed combatants wearing protective armor and helmets. They all held guns and aimed at Zheng, who was holding a woman. On the roof of the heavy armored floating vehicle, a dual large-caliber laser cannon is facing towards the balcony and has entered a ready-to-launch state. As long as Zheng shows an intention to resist, the driver will not hesitate to press the launch button and turn him into burnt mud. The floating car was parked next to the balcony, and 5 fighters jumped down. Following closely behind was a medical staff member holding a medical kit and wearing protective clothing. They opened a portable stretcher. Zhaozuiyuan.com, put her down, then raise her hand and step back without any unnecessary movements, roared a fighter. Zheng was a bit unhappy, but for the sake of reward, he still followed suit. He placed the woman on the stretcher and then raised his hand to step back. After the medical staff injected the woman with a dose of medication, those guys carried her onto the heavy armored suspension car and roared away, disappearing from sight after a few breaths. He didn't even glance at Zheng, even though he had a burnt black wound on his shoulder. The other party didn't ask a word. These company dogs are really dragging. Zheng muttered inwardly before turning his head and leaving. The task was completed smoothly. The rest of the work is finishing. Search the body to see if there is any money. Take away all the weapons of those cultists. David disassembled the rapid-fire gun into different parts and then packed it onto the old floating vehicle to take away. And the body, which was all made of high-grade prosthetics, was also taken away. They are typical poor people, they can scratch a little bit. After completing everything, the two of them got into the car and Zheng pressed the start button. The anti-gravity engine made the entire body tremble, as if it was about to disintegrate in the next second. We need to change cars, Zheng shook his head and said, every time I drive this car, I'm afraid it'll scatter. Wait for the reward to be received this time. There are 200,000 credit coins this time, and the intermediary draws 30%. We also have 140,000 yuan left, which is enough to exchange for a good car. David said excitedly, speaking of this, I need to call Black Fatty and ask him to pay us as soon as possible. Chapter 6. The Secret of Zheng. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. Are you two bastards joking with me? It may take some time to find someone to replace other mercenaries with such a large order, let alone deal with so many cultists. As fast as David and Zheng, there are probably not many free cities to find. The black fat man who heard David say the task was completed roared on the other end of the phone. He thinks these two bastards are playing with him. The task I took on last night was completed before I arrived in the afternoon. Let the special institutions in the upper district solve it. I'm afraid they don't even have such a fast speed. Until David passed on the photos of the scene, he explained the matter of the target receiving emergency treatment from the team. The black chubby guy on the other end of the phone checked and finally confirmed that it was true. I really didn't misread you guys. Killing hundreds of people is as fast as stealing a car. The black chubby man's tone underwent a great change of 360 degrees, and his wild expression just now disappeared, suddenly becoming amiable. I will help you chase the remaining money now, and follow me to work hard in the future, ensuring that you eat delicious food and drink spicy food. After casually chatting about other things and confirming that he could get the money tomorrow, David hung up the phone. Then the two went to find an illegal prosthetic dealer to sell the body and some of the prosthetics they had collected. After buying, go find someone to recycle the weapons they have collected. I really sold it at a good price. David took the money from the trader's hand. And hand over Zheng's portion to him. The prosthetics of that special cult member are all high-end goods, and with the addition of weapons, it is another good harvest. The sale and installation of illegal prosthetics is a complete industrial chain. We need to wash out the records inside before we can use them. Selling it is much more cost-effective than using it yourself. Otherwise, the other party will come knocking, which will be a big trouble. Maybe it will also attract the company's attention. Stepping out of the trader's shop, the sky was already dark, and all the neon signs in those buildings lit up. Let's go back. David asked. Zheng smiled and shook off the money in his hand. No, let's go to the Liz Bar. Liz Bar. The flickering neon signs and the ferocious, mechanical prosthetic members of the Merc gang are the hallmarks of the Liz Bar. It is said that this bar was created by a stripper. The stripper behind was killed in the conflict with the Tiger Claw gang. Currently taken over by Merc. The influence of the Merc gang is not significant. Mainly responsible for the security of the bar and some peripheral work. Due to its good management, Liz Bar is very famous in the Saint and district. People from all walks of life will come here to find fun. Some company executives and public government officials come here to enjoy special services. In summary, this is a wonderful paradise. As long as you have enough credit coins, you can buy all the happiness in this world here. Under the gaze of those gang members, I stepped into the bar along the mottled and faded wooden steps. The dance hall is located on the first floor, the casino is on the second floor, and above the third floor are some game areas that cannot be casually mentioned. The deafening sound of music came, and every man and woman wriggling on the dance floor had a joyful expression on their faces. Their screams were so loud. It looked so vibrant. Some unlucky people here may have to be chopped to death by their creditors tomorrow, which will not affect their indulgence at this time. On the high platform of the dance floor, several sexy dancers were wriggling their seductive figures. They were only wearing a few cool clothes for guests to satisfy their desire to strip. As long as those guests throw cute and charming credit coins up, they can have even fewer clothes. If you meet a few wealthy people, they wouldn't mind imitating Venus of Urbino. Sir. A pretty, sexy and hot dancer walked up to Zheng's side. The red lips of the dancer were unusually sexy in the flickering lights. Perfect and flawless, the body implanted with mechanical prosthetics is covered with only a small amount of fabric. The exposed, snow-white and flawless skin failed to attract people's attention. Instead, it led people to focus more attention on the areas covered by a small amount of fabric. The voice of the dancer was gentle and beautiful, which made Zheng's heart itch and he couldn't help but want someone to scratch it. Perhaps you need one. The dancer leaned into Zheng's ear. Zheng casually took out a credit coin and stuffed it between the turbulent twin peaks of the other party, interrupting their words. I'm looking for Evelyn, beautiful woman. The dancer shrugged helplessly. Okay, I'll help you tell her. I remember you also came by. Zheng casually stuffed a few more credit coins into the position just now. I will, sir. The beautiful eyes of the dancer showed a hint of seductive charm, so she turned around and left. You'll die on a woman's belly sooner or later, David shook his head as he looked at the departing dancer. So what? At least the labor management TM is so happy, it's better than the company dogs who suddenly die while making money for capitalists. Zheng took a deep breath of smoke and blew out one smoke ring after another in the air. We need to be happy to the fullest. Let this hell go to hell, it can't affect my good mood. David shook his head. You're hopeless. I think so too, Zheng smiled. It's another crazy pursuit. Amidst his support, Zheng tried his best to pour the drink into his throat, so much so that he forgot even his own mother's name. Even if he shook the bed with Evelyn and the latest dancer he met, he completely forgot the details. However, any happiness has an endpoint. Those painful and desperate things will not be spared by these people's overnight revelry. It's like the unlucky ones who owe money and are about to be chopped to death will eventually face the dawn of their fear. Zheng will also welcome what he fears the most after falling asleep. The endless black mist was rolling. Only a few strange buildings emitting eerie light are shining in distant places. The dim blood-red light will penetrate the black mist, adding a touch of terror to this eerie place once again. The sky is mixed with countless colors, indescribable, and countless cracks emit eerie light. Giant tentacles extend from cracks, piercing through heaven and earth like pillars supporting the sky. Hundreds of blood moons with fangs and twisted faces hanging in the sky, emitting piercing laughter. In addition to these, there are unimaginable massive structures squeezing the sky. Even when standing on the ground, those huge objects can clearly see their structure. Made from burning steel and spikes. They are manifestations of madness, composed of complex geometric structures. The angle accumulates the angle, and the lines change in curves and straight lines. Strange colors swim on the surface of the structure, just like some special rhythm. Words are difficult to describe its characteristics. Just staring can contaminate a person's mental state and lead them towards madness. That's really on time. I've returned to this damn place again. Zheng gazed at the sky and the rolling darkness beneath the altar, his face bitter. A fire was ignited on the high platform of the altar behind it. Its brightness can only illuminate more than 10 square meters. The darkness is blocked by the flames, boiling outside the light. They are constantly changing, now transforming into a strange forest. The black branches extended into the unreachable sky, and the tree roots twisted out and plunged into the abyss. Strange shadows run through the jungle under the crimson moonlight. And in the deeper parts of the forest, there is a flicker of light from other eyes, bright yet vicious. Even without any dialogue, Zheng could feel their malice and thirst, just like a jackal waiting to devour his flesh and soul. Zheng scanned the space and found that this time there was a slight difference from the scene in his memory. A terrifying giant eye, resembling a giant mountain range, was embedded in a crack emitting a purple glow. The eyeballs were covered in crimson veins. It gazes at the location of Zheng. Unveiled display of malice and hatred. Zheng glanced at the giant eye, and if that's right, it should be the evil creature he dealt with during the day. Killing the other party's followers and taking away sacrifices, the other party has no reason not to retaliate. Being targeted is also normal. This eerie place is another secret of Zheng. It is also the source of his special abilities. It could even be the root cause of his travels or being sent to this eerie era. When he was dozing off in his own home and opened his eyes, he was trapped in this eerie altar, and then it was 62,023. Outside the altar is an endless black mist, and there are various strange and unimaginable things. They all carry malice. The light emitted by the fire was the only thing that could protect him. His range of activities is also limited to the illuminated dozen square meters. The only result of going out is being torn apart by those monsters, without any resistance. He can easily defeat those genetic monsters in the real world. But here, he died without even seeing the monster attacking him clearly. What's even more worrying is that with each resurrection, the flames of the fire will weaken a bit, and the range that can be illuminated by Zheng calm will become smaller and smaller. After trying a few times, Zheng dared not try anymore. Who knows what will happen after the fire goes out? He was completely killed by those monsters, eating his flesh and soul, and there was no longer the existence of Zheng. Or degenerate into a member of those pitiful monsters. That's also why he likes to get drunk in bars. Who can tolerate being pulled to such a strange place every night after falling asleep? Listening to those crazy screams, looking at those twisted things. Zheng doesn't know what he should be doing here. At first, he believed that the fire heap should be a golden finger. It's definitely about finding a few chai wangs to spread the fire and so on. Who would have thought that he couldn't even leave the sanctuary? Going out is a flash sale. Going out is a flash sale. Upgrading such things simply does not exist. Not to mention collecting the fleeing Chai King and returning to spread the fire, he can't even defeat the monsters at the resurrection point. Later, Zheng changed his thinking and believed that the fire heap may be a special system. For example, collecting emotions or collecting special items. Whether he is bleeding, killing, doing good deeds, running naked in the street, or stealing precious and dangerous seals, they are all useless. The fire remained in that state, sometimes shaking, as if mocking Zheng's foolishness. Frustration, decadence, and fear of those terrifying things once made Zheng ponder whether to abandon them. Only in the exhilarating music and the extravagant handsome guys can he find some joy in living. Chapter 7. Black Fat Man. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, the loud knocking on the door always rings on time. David is so disciplined every day. He, who yearns to become a legend, possesses a perseverance that others do not possess. The almost broken door creaked. Cried like an old man beaten up. Zheng opened his eyes. He returned to the present world. Being dragged into that eerie space will not affect his sleep quality. Zheng pushed away two women who were stuck to him like octopuses, emitting a strong smell of alcohol. Sitting up, Zheng found that his bed seemed a bit short compared to before. Shaking his drunken head and taking a closer look, Xinghai realized what was going on. The bed has come apart. Zheng's mind froze for a moment. My 1.8-meter bed just came apart like this. I wish I had shaken it lightly last night. I'll have to buy a bed later. Zheng, who wanted to wake up, inexplicably felt a bit sore in his waist. That demon seems to have no chance of revenge. As David said, there is a high probability that he will die on those women. Washed up. Zheng left credit coins for the woman in bed as usual and then walked out. Good morning, David, Zheng greeted. Don't be too early, hurry up. We need to go find Black Fatty today, get the remaining balance, and then go pick a good car. David stuffed a breakfast into Zheng's arms and dragged him towards the elevator. The old projection screen in the elevator continued to play boring news as usual. A woman with a beautiful figure and bright clothes is introducing a brand new prosthetic from the Zheng group on the screen. The all-new neural fusion system allows for smooth control and can respond to brain commands in just 100,000th of a picosecond. The Zheng Savior A800 model, a brand new prosthetic limb, is born in response to the trend of the times. The 6 cores combine 48 threads and are equipped with the latest model of processor, making it impossible to control. The neural node memory adds more than 20%, allowing for preset voice commands, cutting off nerve transmission, and voice control. It has multiple guarantees and is reliable. The shell is made of iron-based alloy, lightweight and durable, and can be used normally in extreme environments such as 160 degrees Celsius high temperature and -100 degrees Celsius low temperature. The interior adopts the latest mechanical structure, which can effectively reduce impact force. Such superior mechanical prosthetics only require a minimum of 300,000 credits. Coins, you can take them home. Call now to order, and you will also receive 3 free maintenance services. When David heard the price, he shook his head. This thing is more profitable than a crime. Don't think about that anymore, poor people have no good fortune. Zheng said, in the lower class, buying a human life doesn't require more than 500 credit coins. The starting price is 300,000 credit coins. Killers have to work until their knives smoke to make up for it. Besides the part that the middleman wants, the knife smoke probably won't work. This wealth gap is really amazing. The situation in Xinghai district is a bit better, at least the cost of human life is a bit higher, it would cost 1,000 to 1,500. Don't think this is absurd. The employment rate in Xinghai district is extremely low, and even if one can find employment, the salary is still very low. 3,000 is a high salary. It's common to start at around 1,000 without any welfare benefits, and get PUA from the boss every day. Overtime is the norm, and if you dare to ask for overtime pay, you have to get out of here. A group of impoverished individuals with no moral bottom line, a few thousand yuan is enough to make them sacrifice their lives. The high-end mechanical prosthetics starting with 300,000 credit coins are not something that these poor people can imagine. The elevator opens and leads to the first floor. Just take 2 steps and you'll be on the street. Perhaps due to too many tall buildings. The sunlight on the street is blocked. It appears somewhat gloomy and dim. The neon signs of the store were also on during the day, obscured by the haze and somewhat hazy. Giant 3D projected advertisements can be seen everywhere, and floating cars and motorcycles can be seen driving at different heights. The sound of heavy footsteps came. A bipedal mech equipped with a revolver and reaching up to 6 meters walked through the ground streets. The position of the mecha arm is painted with a prominent flag. At the center is the flag of the Free City Public Government, surrounded by several corporate flags. Armed personnel wearing police uniforms, holding fully automatic rifles, equipped with advanced protective armor and equipped with vibrating knives and projection shields stand on the stepped platforms on both sides of the mech. They look full of a sense of superiority. When looking at people, there is no hiding the contempt in their eyes. That kind of gaze seemed to be looking at ants and bugs. Without respect or pity. The reason they are here is simply that the public government and major conglomerates want to extract the final value. Before completely draining the value of Xinghai district, those high-ranking elites and companies do not want Xinghai district to fall into disorderly chaos. No one likes these ostentatious police officers. But no one dares to take action against these guys either. In addition to providing firepower support, bipedal mechas for assault and defense, there are several police heavy armored floating vehicles closely following in the sky. Once a riot occurs, they will not hesitate to open fire. Eliminate all those who dare to resist authority. Even if gangs run rampant in Xinghai district and everyone carries guns, if they confront police officers armed to the teeth, they will still be crushed. How arrogant. David couldn't help but sigh as he watched the patrol team walk away. Zheng took a glance and then withdrew his gaze. Let's go. Free City is like this. If anyone wants to see hell, it's definitely not wrong for him to come here. The old nest of the Tiger Claw gang is at the Pole Club, 4 streets away from the house rented by Zheng and David. It is said that there are also strongholds of the Tiger Claw gang in other regions. It is obvious that this gang is not as simple as imagined. There are tens of thousands of gang members in Xinghai district alone. The Tiger Claw gang has a wide range of activities, including legitimate establishments such as restaurants, casinos, bars, clubs, massage parlors, as well as black businesses such as buying and selling people and organs, money laundering, and manufacturing psychotropic drugs. There are rumors that they were trained by powerful individuals and top companies to control the underground forces in Free City, while also serving as a supplement to the intelligence network. If you drive a floating car, it will take less than 10 minutes on 4 streets. Zheng and David quickly arrived at the bottom of the building. The Extreme Club is not open during the day. The whole building is quiet, shrouded in darkness. Only a few places have lights on and you can see things. Zheng and David, led by several gang members, took the elevator to the top floor. Their intermediary, Black Fatty, is right there. The Tiger Claw gang is passionate about genetic modification. Each gang member has an unusually tall physique, with muscular knots, each one resembling the Green Giant. Wearing rudimentary armor. Handheld large-caliber guns or melee weapons. Standing there gives people a huge sense of oppression. The defense of the building is very tight. Most gang members are armed. Some positions that are easy to defend but difficult to attack are also equipped with fortifications and heavy weapons. Just as I opened the elevator door, a mournful scream came towards me. A child who looked only 15 or 16 was bound by the Tiger Claw gang and hung up with both hands. A chubby black man, resembling a giant bear, was wearing a fist brace and treating the unlucky child like a sandbag. The black fat man was beating and cursing at the same time. What's wrong with doing something? You must be unclean. Even if it's not clean, it's okay. You dare to steal from the Tiger Claw gang, you really don't know what to do. The child was beaten to almost no shape. My chest is sunken, and I don't know how many ribs are broken. His face was covered in bloodstains, and one eye was shattered. The remaining eyeballs are still in their sockets, constantly bleeding outwards. It is obvious that Black Fatty intends to beat him alive to death. The security situation in Xinghai district is not considered bad, and law enforcement officers will still come out to help collect corpses and wash the floor. Of course, it is also limited to collecting corpses and washing the floor. Other things, those law enforcement officers rarely pay attention to. As long as there is no large-scale chaos in the Xinghai district, everything else is not a big deal for the big shots in the upper echelons. Zheng saw the boy who was beaten. My mind suddenly felt a bit dazed. Some fragmented scenes appeared in his mind. The cheers and screams of people echoed in his mind as those images appeared. A massive starship, a burning planet, billions of fanatical legions. A series of magnificent palaces and buildings that are unimaginable. It's like humanity suddenly returned to the glorious era. Zheng did not understand the meaning of these prophecy scenes. They are too fragmented to extract enough information. The only thing that can be certain is that this child seems to be of some use to him. The child raised his head at this moment, and his only remaining eye met Zheng. A glimmer of hope appeared in the desperate gaze. The gang members leading the way asked Zheng and David to sit on the sofa, walk inside, and say a few words in the ear of the black fat man practicing boxing. The other party just threw down their blood-stained fists and walked in, cursing and cursing. The black chubby man's height reached about 2.5 meters, looking plump. Actually, it's all muscles. Like snake pythons entwined around their bodies. Standing there, one feels a strong and savage aura rushing towards the other person. Well done, we killed so many people and saved that fool. The chubby black man lit a cigar and leaned on the sofa, scanning Zheng and David. You guys are useful, behave well in the future. I, the chubby black man, have a good reputation on the road and never treat anyone unfairly. The black chubby man exhaled a puff of smoke and gestured to his subordinates to take out all the remaining rewards. This type of task usually charges a deposit of 40%. The employer actually has no hope of rescuing their daughter, and the main reason for releasing the mission is to buy the lives of those members of the cult organization. For this, only 40% of the deposit of 100,000 was given, which is 40,000. The black fat man directly deducted his own intermediary fee, which was 30%, or 12,000 yuan, and gave David 28,000 yuan. Who would have thought that Zheng and David were so awesome? Directly helped the employer save their daughter. According to the agreement, the remuneration has also doubled. Deducting the intermediary's fee for 200,000 yuan, the two can still receive an additional 112 credit coins. The black chubby guy was also happy and didn't make things difficult for the two of them for this little money. He is in the middleman business, responsible for leading bridges and connections, and drawing water from them. Low risk, high return. If the task is not completed, at most the mercenary's money will be refunded, and the intermediary fee will not be refunded. So the good reputation of a middleman is a golden signboard. With this golden signboard, just sit and collect money. Zhaoshuyuan.com to tarnish one's reputation for so little money. That's too short-sighted. Your money is all inside. A member of the Tiger Claw gang handed David a box of currency. Credit coins are the universal currency of the free city. Announced by several large conglomerates and public governments. Credit coins are either physical or anonymous data storage chips. Online electronic currency does not exist in this era. In the glorious era, human civilization suffered from AI rebellion. Most of the networks have been invaded, damaged, and polluted by AI. Human beings are forced to build black walls to block viruses created by AI. Even a black wall cannot eradicate the numerous electronic viruses in cyberspace. Most of the networks are abandoned. Some computing centers that have been confirmed to be irreparable have been directly bombed or abandoned. The network cable connecting the entire planet has also been damaged. Cities and even regions use subnets. Currency naturally does not use the internet for transactions. After all, if there is a slight mistake, everything will be scrapped. In addition, the chaotic situation in various districts makes it impossible for online currency to gain the faith of those gangs and those at the bottom. Even the materials of credit coins are mixed with some important scarce elements in order to barely become a universal currency. David checked and confirmed that the amount was correct, and just wanted to close the box. Zheng, who had been silent all along, reached out to signal him not to close the box. "What's wrong?" David asked in confusion. Zheng ignored him and instead looked at the chubby black man. "How much does the child outside cost to buy someone?" Chapter 8. In the Free City, only those who are bad enough to shed pus can survive. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, are you crazy? Politics. David widened his eyes upon hearing these words. Expressing one's opinion with eyes. Zheng shook his head slightly and gestured for David not to speak. "What?" "Looking at that little thief's screams, I can't bear it." The black chubby man's ferocious face revealed a hint of playfulness and cruelty. "No, I was just entrusted by someone to have a few children do experiments," Zheng said calmly. "You know, there are gangs protecting every block. If I were to kidnap children from those blocks recklessly, it would be troublesome." The black chubby man's eyes were aggressive, like a hungry wolf. He scanned Zheng up and down, wanting to see what medicine this young man had bought in his gourd. Zheng stared at the chubby black man without giving in. In the chaotic and cruel Free City, cowardice often brings death. Only those who are ruthless and tough enough can survive in this cannibalistic world. The black chubby man stared at each other for a moment, and his heart suddenly became furry. Those completely black pupils seemed to connect to the abyss of hell. Looking at each other for a little longer, the black chubby man had the illusion that his soul would be sucked in by those terrifying eyes. "Okay, leave 5,000 credit coins and you can take the thief away." The black chubby man turned his head and stopped looking at each other. That ferocious big face revealed an uncomfortable fake smile. Sitting on the sofa, he casually said, 5,000. David shouted loudly, "That little thief, the short-lived ghost is worth 5,000. Why don't you put him in the meat grinder, make meat patties, and sell them to those bastards outside? See if you can earn 5,000 on that little thief. This is 5,000. Zheng took out a stack of credit coins from the box and looked at David. "Stop making noise, let's go." David shook his head, expressing his helplessness towards his partner. The members of the Tiger Claw gang untied the rope wrapped around the child's hand and handed it over to Zheng and the others. That poor child was already on the brink of death, flesh and blood blurred, and his whole body had countless broken bones. The only remaining eye was bleeding, just looking at Zheng like that. Zheng lifted the child with one hand, placed it on his shoulder, and strode towards the elevator, with David following closely behind. Neither of them spoke along the way. Throwing the child in the back row and then opening the door to get into the car, he started and drove away from an intersection before David spoke. "Are you crazy, Zheng? 5,000 credit coins to buy this guy. He's not even worth 200 yuan. I'm useful, credit coins are deducted from my portion," Zheng said casually, holding a cigarette in his mouth and looking at the traffic outside. David suddenly stepped on the brake, and Zheng was caught off guard and almost collided with the car platform in front of him, causing his cigarette to fly out of his mouth. Zheng turned his head in surprise to look at David, wanting to ask what was going on. Why suddenly brake suddenly? This handsome face is disfigured. Can you bear the consequences? As soon as I turned my head, I saw a fist as big as a clay pot hit Zheng in the face, firmly hitting him. With tremendous force, he was knocked down on the seat of the car. Damn it, I'm not talking about money to you. David grabbed Zheng by the collar and pulled him up from the car seat again. David's face turned red and his tone was unprecedentedly angry. He was like a crazy lion, grabbing Zheng's collar and saying word by word, I'm talking about you rescuing this useless person. You can use this money to go find those dancers, give them 5,000 each, and I won't pay attention to you, but you absolutely can't do anything good with it. Good people in Free City can't survive. Understand, you idiot. I'm useful, Zheng said. You're useless, I took on all our tasks. All your time except for work is spent on those little girls. What time do you have to take on the task of helping people find experimental subjects? Isn't it just that seeing this useless person being beaten up makes your heart soften again? Have you forgotten those lessons from the beginning? Only those who have lost their morals can survive in Free City. Zheng, you must always remember this, I don't want to see your body in any stinky ditch in the future. I saw something. Zheng reached out and pushed David's hand away, rubbing his beaten face. You know my ability. Even if David installed a mechanical prosthetic, his punch only caused Zheng's face to blush a few times, without even breaking his skin. Zheng knew that David was fighting back for his own good. Otherwise, even with the installation of mechanical prosthetics, Zheng could easily knock him down. Don't think about lying to me, David said with a skeptical look and a fierce tone. If you lie to me, you'll be dead. What did I lie to you for? Zheng said helplessly, I really saw something. Looking at Zheng's black pupils, David was not sure if what this guy was saying was true or false. But he ultimately chose to believe in his brother. In Free City, any kind-hearted mercenary ultimately dies tragically. It's so miserable that even the body can't be fully assembled. David has already seen it, and he doesn't want Zheng to be any good person. Their brothers just need to live as rotten people and become legends of Liberty City. The medical technology in Liberty City is very advanced. As long as they have enough money, those lovely white angels, even if they want to wield guns and evil spirits, will still bring customers back from hell. Of course, if they don't have money, they will also let those poor people know what indifference is. On the way to the hospital, Zheng witnessed this absurd scene with his own eyes. A woman's abdomen was pierced. He lay on the ground, groaning in pain. Begging for someone to help her. A heavily armored floating vehicle with a medical center emblem is suspended 10 meters away. With just a few moves, a woman can be lifted onto a floating vehicle and pulled to the hospital for assistance. Medical staff dressed in full armor turned a blind eye to women from beginning to end. They were surrounded by a man whose finger had been scratched, and later on, the wound was about to heal on its own. The man was dressed in an expensive robe, covered in high-grade prosthetics, and wore a special badge on his chest, indicating that he was an executive of a special force. The medical staff carefully bandaged the man's scratched finger and instructed him to pay attention to various precautions. After dressing the men up, they left with great vigor. Turn a blind eye to women groaning in pain. After a while, the woman lost her voice. Several characters resembling scavengers carried him away. Undoubtedly, this dead woman will be dismembered, and useful organs will be sealed at low temperatures or nourished with nutrient solutions waiting to be transplanted to those who can afford it. Not everyone likes mechanical prosthetics. Some people prefer genetic modification and biological reinforcement. Once this reinforcement goes wrong, the mutated organ needs to be replaced. It is precisely because of this that there is a huge market for organ trading. Zhaoshuyuan.com Free City is so naked. Money and power, this is heaven. If there is nothing, it is a complete hell. Zheng paid a considerable amount of money to keep the boy alive. He also had the doctor replace it with a mechanical prosthetic eye. When the money is in place, the doctors at the medical center are the angels who save lives and heal the wounded. At night, the boy was able to run normally. What a waste of money. Returning to the rented apartment building, David glanced at Zheng and the boy, shook his head, and then went straight back to his room. That boy followed behind Zheng, not leaving a single step, like a servant. The death of Liberty City is as simple as eating and drinking water. Zheng saved the boy's life, and his kindness was as great as a reconstruction. In order to repay kindness and survive, the boy also knew that following Zheng was the best choice. Zheng did not refuse to let the other party follow him in order to understand why the inexplicable scenes and sounds appeared in his mind. Before clarifying, if the other party wants to leave, he will not allow it. Zheng let that guy sleep in the living room, while he went back to his room to sleep. After arriving in Xinghai district, Zheng rarely lay alone in bed. After every carnival, he always gains something. Zheng has tasted most of the dancers in those bars and knows their depth. I thought without a woman to accompany me tonight, I would suffer from insomnia. Who would have thought that as soon as he touched the bed, Zheng fell asleep. When he opened his eyes, he appeared on that eerie altar as usual. Chapter 9. New Changes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, the fire on the altar platform was burning, and the flames illuminated the vicinity of the platform. At the edge of the flames, there was still rolling and wriggling darkness. The sky is still a madness, with eerie and ominous lights emanating from the cracks. The massive mountain-like eyes are like twisted structures of planets, with terrifying tentacles that only appear in the craziest literature piercing through heaven and earth. Crazy howls came from the darkness, and countless malicious entities lurked in places invisible to Zheng. They waiting for the flames to extinguish. Waiting to share Zheng's flesh and blood, corrupting his soul. All rational things will decay and collapse here. Zheng felt like a primitive person, hiding by a small campfire, afraid of the darkness outside the cave. Fire. Thinking of this, Zheng instinctively looked at the fire. A small change occurred in the fire pile that had not undergone any changes despite trying all possible methods before. A stick of firewood appeared in the fire. Zheng walked to the fire on the high platform, rubbed his eyes, and confirmed that he was not mistaken. There is really an extra firewood. What's going on? Zheng frowned slightly. He has done many things to the fire, but has not made any changes to the fire. He has tried all the methods in both serious and unorthodox novels. The fire remained unchanged from beginning to end. But today, it suddenly had an additional burning firewood. Although the fire did not expand significantly, something could be felt to be added to it. The fire pile is the source of all the abilities of Zheng. Anticipating the brief future, having a body that can heal quickly and has terrifying combat power, even more terrifying than mechanical prosthetics, is all due to the fire. Zheng could feel the connection between the fire and him. He walked into the fire and instinctively placed his hand on the wood burning in the fire. Countless fragments of memory flashed through his mind. The thunder in the sky flickered, and the roaring sound was so violent that it seemed like the gods were angry. Lightning sometimes shines on Lecco Street in Drew District. As a lower-level district, the chaos in Drew is like hell. Perhaps hell is better than this terrifying region. This place is filled with all the terrifying things that humans can imagine. Hunting machinery equipped with various sharp weapons, ghosts and demons wandering in the shadows, biochemical creations even more savage and violent than beasts, wandering dead people, monsters with twisted limbs and fangs. The things in Drew District are chaotic, crazy, and the manifestation of indescribable things that shatter all rationality. I have been living in this area since I started to remember. The one who gave birth to me was a poor woman who was treated as a fertility machine. My memory of her is very vague, only remembering her dirty and shabby clothes, her terrifyingly thin face, and her protruding eyes. Wrapped in meat, it looks terrifying to the extreme. The pitiful woman who was used as a fertility machine by local gangs is indescribable. They, as a part of human nature, have been erased in endless torment and pain. All that remains is the desire to survive. Live like captive poultry. People living in the Drew district have long lost their rationality. They crazily worship those unnamed evil beings. In order to please those who exist, various cruel blood sacrifices are essential. Morality and order have completely collapsed. Only hysterical madness. The reason why I survived is because I was kept in captivity by that twisted beast gang as reserve food and low-level slave labor. After all, the beast gang need some slaves to complete their work, trade with other regions, and exchange for wealth and various weapons. Although Drew district is chaotic, it also has its own rulers. One of them is the leader of the beast gang. The beast lord, and also the strongest one. Many people once wanted to kill the beast owner in order to end his terrifying dictatorship. In the end, those unlucky people all failed. The beast owner stands as tall as 6 meters, wearing a set of armor comparable to a heavy armored tank, full of bone spurs and skeletons, and equipped with astonishingly sized serrated blades. Its terrifying aura alone is enough to scare many people to death. The combat effectiveness is even more terrifying, causing despair among all those who dare to challenge. Several major financial conglomerates once formed a coalition to besiege the Beast Lord, hoping to regain control of the Drew area and control the production of precious spiritual drugs that can stimulate spiritual beings. After the war, the beast owner wielded a serrated knife and with one strike, he blasted the heavily armored tank with a shield, like an apocalyptic demon from hell, terrifying to the extreme. Plus the protection of worshipped objects. Even if chaebol and public governments resort to all means, it will ultimately end in a disastrous defeat. After World War I, major conglomerates and public governments never organized any more attacks on the Drew district. The Beast Lord's control over the Drew area has become increasingly stable. I lived in the Beast Gang for 16 years, and slaves my age were either eaten as food or provoked by someone who couldn't be provoked. They were skinned and boned and hung on the sign of an abandoned building. Can live for so long. In addition to being cautious and careful enough, I also have a special ability to peek into the shallow thoughts of others and calm their emotions, and even see a corner of the future from certain omens. I learned from some rumors and knowledge that this ability is actually some kind of spiritual power. That is to say, I am a psychic, a wizard, a superpower, an existence capable of summoning supernatural powers. But I wasn't happy about it, nor did I promote it extensively or even hide it, only using it at critical moments. Drew district is not without psychics, but their fate is very bleak. The monsters wandering in the shadows love to hunt wizards and take their bodies. Some spiritual beings are also captured by the Beast Gang and used to worship their idols, the gods of the beasts. The god of the beasts is like an existence that is born out of various things such as tigers, leopards, lions, octopuses, etc. It is very strange but highly worshipped by the Beast Gang, and will be sacrificed for blood every once in a while. I thought I was like that all my life, being a slave every day, and one day I was accidentally killed. However, in a transaction between the Beast Gang and the Qin group, I have found an excellent opportunity. Some special plants not only require various nutrient solutions, but also human pain and feeding of flesh and blood in order to eventually mature and possess the benefits that upper-class individuals need. That type of medicine is very important for the high-level management of Free City. It is the key to maintaining their long lives and youth. The Qin group not only purchased a large amount of drugs, but also purchased slaves for cultivating those special plants. If I operate well, I can disguise myself as an unconscious, purchased slave and escape. I did it without hesitation. Any hesitation will kill me. To survive, one must make a decisive decision. That approach would kill the slaves I worked with, and the members of the furious beast gang would dismember them and make them into jerky. But I have no guilt at all. I really want to live. I really want to get rid of that terrible hell. I succeeded. Not only did I escape from the control of the beast gang, but I also escaped from the Drew district and the Qin family's transport convoy, arriving at the adjacent Saint An district. Each district is very large. As long as I hide well, the beast gang won't be able to find me. I also gave myself a name. As for why I can read, it's not because I have attended school. A lowly slave worker, a piece of spare food, how could he possibly have gone to school? Besides, I'm afraid we can't even find a school in the vast Drew district. The reason why I am literate is because the beast gang uses machines to force knowledge into our minds in order to help slave workers better operate those machines and complete the maintenance and upkeep of weapons. That experience was a torture. It's like someone chops open your brain, puts something in it, and roughly stitches it together. Some unlucky guys may die directly as a result. My name is taken from the protagonist of an ancient story in the reader. That name makes me feel somewhat magical. It suits me very well. It's like being born for me. This name is Bai Qi. I really like this name. For safety reasons, I plan to go further away, completely away from the Drew area. However, plans are beautiful, but reality is often so cruel that it is difficult to accept. A few days later, I was caught stealing something from a gang. Those guys hung me up and used it as a sandbag for that dark, muscular giant. The opponent punched me and broke my bone. The second punch really hit my eyes. It's very painful, and I can still hear the sound. I thought I would be beaten to death by that guy. To be honest, in this desperate era, being beaten to death alive is a kind of grace for a slave like me. At least not skinned alive. Zhaoshuyuan.com. I have seen too many deaths like that. The perverts of the beast gang always come up with various vicious ways to die and practice them on slaves. When I was in despair, someone walked in and the big man stopped beating me and walked over. I tried to lift my head and glanced at the person who walked in with the last remaining eye. When my gaze fell on the man with black pupils, a wonderful feeling emerged in my heart. It's hard to describe. It's like a drop of water, seeing the vast and boundless ocean. It was also like a completely pitch-black world, suddenly opening a crack and emitting a ray of light from there. I think he will save me. This idea is absurd. In this era where one's biological bloodline would not hesitate to betray, close relatives and friends could be killed calmly, and then eaten as food, who would save a stranger? I don't know why, but I have this feeling in my heart. It's like different gears of fate destined to bite together. He will save me. Because at some point in the future, he needs me to die for him, and I will not hesitate. A chaotic memory scene flooded into my mind. Zheng took 2 steps back. Hands detach from the wood and the fire, and countless memories disappear with it. What's going on? Zheng looked at his hand with an incredulous expression on his face. Did he just enter another person's life? Such authenticity. He can even discern the thoughts and emotions of the other person at every stage, and that feeling is even more real than a super dream, thousands of times. Chapter 10. Recruiting soldiers and buying horses, attempting to achieve great achievements. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. Zheng looked up at the fire. It is still silently burning on the high platform. Occasionally, there will be a crackling sound coming out. That stick in the fire became a part of it. The occasional flicker of the firelight caused the rolling darkness in the edge area to recede. But soon the flames will fade, and darkness will once again encroach upon every inch of space. Those evil creatures wander in the darkness. Bai Qi. Zheng, who had come to his senses, repeated the name in a low voice. If I guess correctly, this should be the name of the child I saved. Who would have thought that this guy had escaped from the Drew district? Still a psychic. Can perceive the emotions of others and briefly predict the future. It's just that my abilities are a bit weak, otherwise how could I fall into the hands of the Tiger Claw gang? Anticipating the future is not omnipotent. The future is very complex. I anticipate seeing only fragments. Forecasters can only search for information from complex fragments and make their own choices. Choosing will breed variables again. Zheng could only foresee the crisis and a slight future. Bai Chi's predictive ability is much worse than him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be foolish enough to provoke the Tiger Claw gang. Every psychic is just a seed in the early stages. As for what kind of towering trees they will grow into and their ability to control such terror, it all depends on themselves. Of course, there is also a high possibility of premature death halfway through. But if you grow up, it can be a good helper. Gazing at the firewood, Zheng frowned slightly. The mist of the fire has been partially dispelled. Let him touch the truth. I am not looking for a salary king for my own great cause of spreading fire. But rather people like Bai Chi. Zheng had two conjectures. A bonfire may require spiritual beings as firewood. Or after the other party recognizes and follows him, it will become firewood. At least give me some tips. A good thing to do is like guessing a riddle. Zheng's tone appeared very helpless. This mysterious space can be considered his golden finger to some extent. All his abilities come from here, from this fire. But he can't even figure out what this fire is. Zheng turned his head and looked into the distance, where the terrifying tentacles, crimson blood moon, and twisted structures came into view one by one. The giant eye represented by the eye demon, resembling a mountain range, is embedded in the sky. As if responding to Zheng's gaze, that giant eye exuded an even more evil aura. This place is really damn. Zheng decided to purchase 2 more slaves to see. See if it's a psychic or just an ordinary person who recognizes and follows him. If it were to buy slaves, this path would be feasible. Zheng would go and rob banks, and then use the money from robbing banks to recruit troops and build a team, plotting a great cause. A great man born in heaven and earth cannot remain depressed for a long time. Sooner or later, we will defeat all the forces in Free City and become the one with the biggest fist. Of course, if this road is impassable, let's just ignore what was said above. At that time, Zheng could only search everywhere for the younger brother of spiritual beings, becoming a villain who always hid in the dark and laughed coldly. The matter of strengthening the mysterious fire pile is urgent. Otherwise, when the fire goes out, Zheng's ending will definitely be very bleak. Not to mention anything else, those big eyes in the sky won't let themselves go. He kills believers, grabs offerings, and even destroys statues of others. Evil creatures like Big Eyes will never tolerate being desecrated like this. Look at their tentacles, they are thick, big, and sticky. If you play with yourself then, what tentacle evil fall? Thinking of that scene, it's really unbearable. The New Night area is an upper-level area, surrounded by several intermediate zones. This area has a well-developed industry, a developed commercial economy, and high-rise buildings are well maintained with no signs of decay. Especially in the affluent areas of the regional center. That is definitely the paradise that people dream of. Service robots can be seen everywhere on the clean streets, and with just a voice command from those with identities, the robots will provide them with comprehensive services. They no longer have to work at all, they just need to fully enjoy the beauty of life. If we only look at the affluent areas of New Night, there is absolutely no sign of human decline. Everywhere shines the brilliance of rationality and technology. Children born in affluent areas would not have felt the terror of this era if they had not seen the eerie night sky. The areas outside the affluent areas are slightly worse, but they are also much better than the middle and lower level areas. The civilians here have jobs, medical and safety guarantees, housing, good taste, and sufficient food. Of course, if one becomes unemployed, they may be deported back to other areas to avoid becoming the root cause of unrest in the upper echelons. Drones sometimes whiz across the sky. They monitor the entire area with sharp electronic eyes like falcons. Once any emergency occurs, special teams and law enforcement personnel will arrive and be on duty 24 hours a day without any delay. The public government and major conglomerates have strong control over the upper echelons, which is their foundation. The isolation wall in the New Night area is open for protection 24 hours a day, and every civilian entering the upper level area needs to undergo extremely strict screening. If the lower level is hell, then New Night, as the upper level, is heaven. In the center of the New Night area, there is a giant skyscraper that stands over a kilometer high and has an aerial apron on its top floor. From the family markings on the outer layer of the building, it can be seen that this is an asset belonging to the Ross family. The Ross family owns shares in several super enterprises in Free City and is said to have their investments in other cities, making it an unimaginable super family. According to some distorted legends, during the peak of human civilization, the Ross family had colonial control and mineral development rights over hundreds of star systems, making them the most powerful and wealthy minority. With the advent of the Eternal Night era, many colonies lost contact, and the Ross family's commercial empire spanning across the starry sky also disintegrated, with countless wealth turned into nothing. But a skinny camel is bigger than a horse. Even if you are on this wasteland planet. The Ross family is still an unimaginable behemoth, possessing numerous technologies and creations from the glorious era of humanity. It is an existence that the bottom layer of this wasteland world can only be looked up to and cannot be touched. The top floor of the building is decorated in great luxury. The elegant and unique wall lamp emits light upwards, bathing the entire suspended room in a warm and peaceful light. A portrait painting with silk wall hanging in golden frame hung on the wall. Weapons with commemorative significance are hung on weapon racks on walls. Close combat weapons are displayed on a wall, with a long-bladed sickle embedded in the vibration field, with electromagnetic cables and energy batteries visible at the handle end, placed in the middle. The long-range shooting weapon is displayed on another wall, with a gold-plated firearm that stands out like an antique. Its energy battery is thick and bulky, making it an early human energy weapon. The details of the room are also very user-friendly. Precision communication facilities and anti-eavesdropping devices are hidden inside wooden walls. The optical shielding device and acoustic barrier are placed under the floor. The user cannot hear the sound of mechanical operation and is very quiet. He's dead. In the room, an old man dressed in fancy clothes, with a very bulky figure, several times larger than a normal person's body size, was like a meat mountain. When he heard the report from his subordinates, his hands trembled and his legs softened before falling backwards. If it weren't for the servant next to him who quickly helped the old man with his eyes and hands, he was afraid that the other person would just fall on all fours and face the sky. Several doctors walked up quickly and injected him with life-saving medicine. Everyone is very nervous. Because this old man's name is William Ross, he is the highest representative of the Ross family in the New Night district. Having a high position and authority can make everyone in the room and their relatives irreparable in just one sentence. Yes. Hank closed the tracking and positioning of his chip in the Drew area and went to complete the blood sacrifice mission with the Sacred Eye members. The bodyguards found him at a prosthetic recycling merchant in the St. Anne area. That guy accidentally activated the chip while dismantling the prosthetics, which was why we located him. A middle-aged man stood behind the old man. The data board in his hand displays the photo of Hank Ross when he was found. It has been dismantled to pieces and is no longer human-like. In order to avoid stimulating their employers, middle-aged people wisely did not show these photos to the other party. Even the bodies were put in refrigeration to prevent William Ross from feeling anxious and heartbroken when he saw his son's miserable situation. Those animals who killed people are not to be reckoned with, they also wasted corpses, it's simply unforgivable. Take care of all the bodyguards with Hank, William Ross said with a sorrowful expression. They were born to protect the Ross family. My child died outside, and they don't need to live anymore. We've already dealt with everything, the middle-aged man nodded. Regardless of the reason, everyone involved in this matter will die. They will all have to be buried with Hank and my son, the old man said with a trembling tone. This incident involves several gangs, as well as a senior executive of the Qin family group in Xinghai district. There is nothing wrong with the gangs, even if they are all killed, no one will care. The people behind them may get angry, but they won't tear their faces. But if we take action against a Qin family executive, will it attract a counterattack from the Qin family group? The middle-aged man showed a hint of concern. Now various forces are very nervous about opening the underground palace. Once something happens, it is highly likely to trigger a full-scale war. The old man turned his head to look at the middle-aged man, whose face was full of wrinkles and skin was almost transparent, and he could see the surging green liquid. That green liquid is a life-sustaining liquid, very expensive, and even civilians in the upper echelons can't sustain an hour's worth of it with their lifetime savings. The old man, on the other hand, was able to rely on his life to sustain himself for over 7 centuries. It is imaginable how terrifying the wealth of this Ross family has reached. I am already 750 years old, and what flows through my veins is no longer blood, but nutrient solution. Do you know how much I have put in to get this child? I can't have a second child anymore. The middle-aged man remained silent for a moment, then nodded. I will do this, Mr. Ross. The people from the Holy Eye Society are also on the move, and I will secretly provide them with intelligence and weapons. In addition, to ensure success, I hope to use the experimental body to complete this mission and test its various data. William Ross nodded and granted the middle-aged man's request. In order to avenge his only heir, he no longer cares about everything. The basement of Ross Building is a huge laboratory. Thousands of researchers recruited by the Ross family are busy among them. Zhaozuiyuan.com. The huge computing module is located in the nutrition tank in the center of the laboratory. This is a flesh and blood computer left over from the glorious era of humanity, codenamed Mimir. It is a super flesh and blood brain created through genetic modification and biotechnology. The diameter of the nutrient tank that accommodates it is 15 meters and the height is 20.3 meters. Immersed in nutrient solution. Connected to the data neural cable. Having unimaginable computing power. Researchers are using this super brain to refine the single weapon program promoted by the Ross family. The middle-aged man walked out of the elevator. Several researchers saw each other's arrival and their faces immediately became solemn. Because the newcomer Otto Vaughn is William Ross's current star, a terrifying and ruthless person. The supervisor of the laboratory rushed over and showed a flattering smile to Otto Vaughn. How is the progress of the Nightblade project? Otto Vaughn said coldly. The Nightblade Type 2B has entered the final testing phase. Activate it and use it for practical testing. But in that case, will there be any risks? So much money every year is not for you to squander, Otto Vaughn said. The family needs to see the results of the plan, otherwise they will have someone else to lead this project. The supervisor looked ugly, but obediently opened the control panel. So who should we choose as our target, Mr. Otto Vaughn? First, choose a gang from Xinghai district, the Tiger Claw gang. Otto Vaughn revealed a cruel smile, lock in their branch, hunt them all, and leave no survivors.